You're listening to Death Metal Disco. Well, here we motherfucking are for episode number 2 of Death Metal Disco Season 2. I would like to apologize for the extreme delay in between episodes, between episode 1, which came out in February, sometime in February, and episode now, which is happening right now on Memorial Day. It's currently the 29th, it's Sunday, and it's about 5:45 in the PM, Mountain Daylight Time, if you were curious about it. I always have to apologize for the delay because there's been a huge gap between episodes lately, and that's my bad. I've just been incredibly fucking busy and then just exhausted. So for those of you who don't know, for my day job, I do travel for work. I don't always travel. In fact, the last couple years, obviously, because of COVID and all that shit, I haven't traveled so much. But this year alone, I've Jesus Christ, I can't even talk. I've taken something like 17, 18 trips, most of which were for weeks, like a full week or almost a full week. A lot of Sunday travel. I was going to count and see how many trips I've actually taken this calendar year. All I know is that between the second week of January, so like I think January 7th is when I started, and until the week before last, so what's today, 29th, so last week I was home. The week before that, up until through that week, I think I've only been home maybe 4 weeks consecutively, like not, consecutively as in back to back to back to back, but 4 whole fucking work weeks. I've had a few trips where I'd, short trips where I'd come back Wednesday night or Thursday night or whatever, but for the most part, it's been just fucking stupid. And yes, I have equipment and capabilities to record on the road. It's just hard to do that in a way that, first of all, sounds okay. But second of all, is just finding the time, finding the motivation. Because when I'm traveling, I'm usually stuck to work on that one customer. And when I get home to the hotel, which is sad that I call it home, when I get back to the hotel, I really don't have any energy to do anything. Maybe watch a little TV, get some food, have a drink or two, whatever. I have had more alcohol this calendar year than I think I've had most calendar years. But it's been good. It's been very, very good, very busy. It keeps me utilized, which in my particular job at my company, utilization is a big point of focus, and having utilization be above 100%, as shitty as it is to my stress levels and ability to socialize and whatever, really keeps me from getting fucking laid off. So, at least for now. So while I have missed you all, and I have, I get a lot of people asking me, well, maybe not a lot of people, but a couple of people asking me when a new episode would come out, and I keep telling them I'll do it. I put on social media the last couple of weeks that I would get a new episode out, and then I just fucking get lazy and don't. And that's shitty. And there are some of you who sponsor the podcast, and you give like $5 a month or whatever, which is very, very awesome. Like, I really do thank you all for doing that. I feel like I'm doing a disservice to you, at least in the last 7 months or so, by not putting out anything. So I apologize. I really, really do. And I hope you all can forgive me. Anyway, like I said, today is Sunday, the 29th. It's Memorial Day weekend. And I really fucking hate hearing people wish other people, happy Memorial Day. For those of you who don't know, Memorial Day is a day to remember, or in this case, a weekend to remember all of our fallen veterans, people who served that didn't make it back. Veterans Day has the veterans have their own day for those who survived their service. But Memorial Day is meant to be a day of remembrance, a day of mourning, if you will. I don't have anybody that I can mourn. I think I have one cousin who served. His name's Billy. I think he served. I'm not very close with him. In fact, last time I talked to him was at a family reunion thing a couple years ago. And I think he served maybe a little while, and now he lives in Kentucky. Outside of that, I don't have any family that served. One of my closest friends, Rachel, she's career Air Force. She's been in the Air Force since she enlisted in 99, and she's still in it. And that's insane. By the way, Rachel, if you happen to listen to this, which I don't think you will, I miss you. One day I can't wait to meet your baby. But anyway, that Memorial Day, I don't ever wish people a happy Memorial Day. It's not supposed to be happy. It's supposed to be sorrowful, or at least a little bit sad, a little bit introspective, if you will. So the good news is with the traveling that I do, I've made some pretty significant amount of overtime. So I bought myself a fancy new desk, a sit-stand desk, currently sitting because, relaxation. But it's a nice uplift desk, not sponsored. If they want to sponsor me, I'm totally cool with that. You can get me to say things like uplift desk rules, which it does. Still not sponsored. But I love it. It's kind of expensive. It's a little more pricey. It's on the pricier side of the desks from the shopping that I did, but it's awesome. It's an L-shaped desk. I got 2 monitors on swing arms right now, individual ones. I have my PC still up on the desk. I need to get some other shit so I can take that off. Even though I like having it up there, I do want the desk space, and having that up doesn't really contribute to that. So I'll do that at some point. But right now, it is what it is, and I like it. So, and it's a nice, cool gray. It's got a name. Can't remember what the fuck it's called, but I dig it. I really do. You should check them out if you're in the market for a new desk for sit stand. Again, it's a little pricier. I bought a gazillion accessories that come with it, like cable management shit, half of which I have not touched. My cable management isn't all that great right now, but I still, even to get it sorted out from what I do have, it won't be a big problem. But I bought all kinds of shit, and it came with a lot of free stuff. It came with like a standing mat. You have like the desk I ordered. I think I had 3 included bonus accessories that I got to pick from, and I ended up picking like a standing floor mat, like a nice cushiony floor mat type of thing to stand on. Stuff for cable management, a lamp. The lamp's probably going to go in my bedroom because I don't have a lamp next to my bed. So that's probably where that's going to go. But and then a desk organizer, I think, is the other thing I got. Can't remember. It's still sitting in the box behind me. Anyway, I've owed you guys an episode for months now, and I'm finally getting to it. So forgive me for the delay. For those of you who are just listening for the first time, my name's James. This is the Death Metal Disco podcast. We're in season 2, which is going to be an abbreviated season, obviously. I talk about whatever the fuck comes to mind. I might have some talking points to start with, but like this whole desk rant that I just had, completely off the cuff. So welcome. And if you're somebody who's listened for a long time, welcome back. I missed you. You may or may not have noticed, if you follow any of the social media, that I have a new logo that I had done up for Death Metal Disco, and managed to put that onto a picture that I paid some money for, and I think it's a little bit better. I really liked my original shitty, stock photo logo thing that I came up with from Anchor.fm, with the single tree, and then in pretty easy to read text, Death Metal Disco in red down below that. I have a thing for single trees with no leaves. I don't know why. I just always have. In fact, The Ring was on TV earlier, and they keep flashing to that one tree on the hill, and it had stuff on it, leaves and whatever, but something about that image I just dig. But even if the tree has nothing on it, like it's completely bare, not necessarily dead, but just bare, I really like that. So I found another cool kind of a cemetery picture that I put the new logo on, and that's what's on almost all the social media except for, I don't remember if I uploaded it to Anchor. I think I might have tried and it failed or something. I don't know. I'd have to look. It's been months because I have been fucking busy, and I'm sorry again. Oh my God, I need to stop apologizing. I like to whisper. So anyway, welcome back, or welcome to the first time. So a little over a year ago, in March of 2021, we had the Boulder shooting at the King Supers. And right after that, I went on a fucking tirade about active shooters and how big of a bitch you have to be an active shooter of any kind. And lost my shit about that. And just within the last, 2 weeks time period, there's been three very large shooters, active shooter situations in the country that all of which have bothered me. The first one was in Buffalo at the Tops grocery store in a predominantly black neighborhood by a very outspoken racist, as it turns out. I can't for the life of me fucking remember what the second one is, and I'm sorry. It'll come back to me. I've had a long day. And then most recently in Uvalde, Texas, the elementary school shooting where 19 students and 2 teachers were killed by a fucking lunatic. I'm not going to go off about that. I've seen some things about the shooting, that specific one, as far as the timeline goes and what the cops did or did not do. And from what it sounds like, they did not do things that they should have, like law enforcement trains in active shooter protocols that were developed after Columbine, because Columbine had issues with there being multi-agency responses there and lack of interagency communication, not because they didn't want to probably, but because they physically couldn't. And I know Uvalde had a similar situation with just the communication interdepartment. And, you know, we can Monday morning quarterback all that shit. Should they have done better? Yes. Could they have done better? Probably. According to them, all the carnage was done within the first couple of minutes before they were ever even there. And while that may be true, it still says a lot when they sit outside for 43 minutes or whatever it is. And I don't know the specifics, so I'm just shooting from the hip here, so to speak. Probably a bad term. But they could have done better, probably. So, whatever. I'm not going to get into the whole gun control, mental health debate. Clearly, it's a mental health issue, but, you know, as a avid fan of guns, I'm a firearm enthusiast. I own one. Not more than one yet, but, you know, I own one, and it was easy for me to get it. I don't have anything on my background. I still had to wait a few days, partially because it was in the middle of COVID, and the other part was, you know, just a background check with everything going down for COVID when it first started in 2020. Background checks through Colorado were taking a really long time. So, you know, you go in and you say, okay, I want to buy the gun. In this case, I think I ordered it online through the firearms dealership in Centennial that I went to, the Centennial Gun Club. Used to be able to do it on their website. Last time I looked, you couldn't even see what they have in stock on their website. So went in and said, okay, I think I bought it online. And then they say, okay, it's here. You can come pick it up. By come pick it up, they mean it's here. Look at it, hold it, make sure it's what you want. And then you do all the background check shit. And then I had to wait for, I think, 2 more days after that. And not because of a requirement saying there's a 2-day mandatory wait or any of that crap. It was literally because CBI, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, who handles the firearms background checks and warrant checks and all that shit, was so backlogged. Probably in part because of COVID, with staffing restrictions and access to things, because I know a lot of federal agencies don't allow remote access from stuff. At least they probably weren't set up to do so at the time. So, I mean, there was a wait for me. It was probably, I think, at least a full week from when I ordered it online to when they told me that it was in the store, to going to do my background stuff, to picking it up. And it's not always that slow, and depending on where you live and state requirements and whatever, maybe it takes more time as a requirement. I'm a firearms enthusiast, but I do believe that, you know, as much as a mental health issue as it is, having people with mental health issues have access to those things, that's the problem. And I don't have a solution for that. It'd be awesome if I did. It'd be awesome if it was awesome, you know, something that people would get behind and support from all angles. But right now, I don't think there is such a thing, which is a big problem. And, you know, statistically, these things aren't common, statistically speaking, as far as gun owners per, you know, psychopaths shooting up a variety of places. But they shouldn't happen at all. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So that's my little tirade for that. I apologize if, if you're triggered, if you have anything to say about it, good or bad or whatever, just to spark a debate or even just a conversation. I like conversations. Hit me up on the social medias, Twitter @DeathDiscoPod, Instagram at Death Metal Disco Pod, I think. Fuck, I really should write this shit down. Or on Facebook or whatever. Or even if you know me, just hit me up. Or if you don't, that's totally fine too. It's your life. Do what you got to do. Speaking of the it's your life, do what you got to do debate, the Roe versus Wade shit. I try not to I try not to get too heavy in these episodes about most things, but here we are, gun control and abortion law. I am pro-choice. I don't know that if I was ever in a situation if I had somebody and, we found out we were pregnant and it came down to having to make that decision out of pure choice or because of medical issues that could transpire, or whatever, that I would have a different opinion. I would support whoever it is that I'm with that was in this situation. And if it came down to me needing to be the deciding factor, I would say, let's do it. Let's, whatever, whatever the situation, whatever they thought they should do, I would support, essentially. I am not in a position to tell anybody else what to do with their body. I wish I could say I was one of those people who thinks every life is sacred. And I'm not. You can't say every life is sacred, then support the death penalty. And I actually do support the death penalty, but with, stringent history, or I guess stringent rules about its application. The thing that kills me about the abortion stuff, and I'm sure it kills a lot of people, is the hypocrisy behind the people who are so hardcore conservative or religious or whatever, demanding that you do not have an option to legally make this decision and legally have things handled by professionals, but still support things like the death penalty. I've seen a lot of debate, like on Twitter and social media, Facebook especially. What happens if, a convicted murderer gets put to death? Oh, he was a murderer. He deserves to die. Well, that argument is fair, and then they quote scripture. I think the Bible pretty clearly says, judge not lest ye be judged. And they're talking about by other people, don't judge if you don't want to be judged yourself. And I have zero doubt in my mind that a great many of all these very outspoken pro-life people have been in a situation where they needed to make that decision or did make that decision to terminate their own pregnancy. And I know several women who have had abortions for various reasons, and not one of them ever took it lightly, to the best of my knowledge. One of them, she just wasn't ready to be a mom. Had it handled early enough on that it wasn't like super awful as far as the emotional connection she's got to having a baby inside her, having, an embryo grow within her, or any question about, what the dad thinks or anything like that. She did it early enough that even most pro-life people can say, okay, you'd had it done before 9 weeks or whatever, which is crazy because that's generally when you find out is right around the 8-week mark, at least from what I know. And it fucked her up royally. Just the whole process of having to go through that decision, make that decision, carry out that decision. She went through some drama after that. She got, to numb the pain of making this decision. She got hooked on drugs, whatever. She was probably on drugs to begin with. She probably was on drugs before she got pregnant, but she really, really derailed for a long time after that. And I think she's got her act together. I'm not too sure. We don't keep in touch like we used to, but I've had other women friends that I know who have terminated for other reasons. One was sexually assaulted, and that's traumatizing enough as it is, but to carry the child, potential child of your assaulter, that if anything's going to fuck you up, it's going to be that. And, while actually getting the abortion was very, very stressful and traumatic for her, it still ranks nowhere near the stress she went through from the ordeal to begin with. Like, she's not the same. She probably won't ever be the same. I don't know if she'll have kids ever, because of questions that they may ask if they ever find out. Then you have the people who are pro-choice but can't carry their own kids, so they're always a little, upset because of people who do make these choices, thinking, I can't have babies. You can, but you're going to choose to not. You're going to physically stop that from happening. And as much as I empathize with people who want to have babies and can't for whatever reason, it's not their place. And I don't know any that do that strictly, that outwardly judge others, but I know they're out there. Like I've seen it online. I don't know if any of my friends that are in that situation are pro-choice, pro-life, totally anti, whatever. But it just kills me that people who have no business deciding these things for, first of all, for other people, second of all, for women specifically, are really intent on trying to do so. The thing with being pro-choice is not necessarily meaning you're pro-abortion. I'm pro you being able to decide for yourself. You shouldn't have to go through the hassle of dealing with all the bullshit that comes along with that, the stigma of being stamped as a, child killer or whatever, by zealots that firmly believe they're so righteous that they can judge you like that. And I had a vasectomy in 2013. I tried to have it when I was 24 in 2004. Never even got a call back from the doctor's office that I was trying to contact about getting it done. And that was because of my age, and the guys that I worked with who gave me the phone number, they told me they would try to talk me out of it. And that's fine and good. I was committed then. Had a moment, a year or two in the late 2000s where I reconsidered my position, but I wasn't reconsidering my position because I really truly wanted to have kids. I was reconsidering because I wanted the person that I had very strong feelings for. I thought that if I was open to it, maybe, we could be a thing. Dumb reason to do that, but that's how I worked back then. So then 2013 comes along, and I simply call up and ask my primary doctor for a referral to the urology, and she said, here you go. And then it was a go. I had to wait a couple months because they were so busy, but the one thing they did, they didn't try to talk me out of it. They didn't ask me if I had any other kids, or actually I think they did ask me that, but they asked me if I was sure I knew what I was doing, blah, 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 but they didn't make me feel badly for it. That's what some of the other people I worked with tried to do. Because they wanted to have babies with their boyfriend at the time, who was 20 years older than them, who already had grown-ass kids, but whatever. Shortly after I had mine, a friend of mine had a hysterectomy, and she said that they were good. We both had Kaiser at the time, and the hospital, the main hospital, St. Joe's, Catholic-owned hospital, going to be frowned upon, so they didn't actually do the procedure there. They did it at the Franklin building next door, which is where I had my procedure. But she says they actually, just like me, they just wanted to make sure she knew that what she was doing was a permanent thing. It shouldn't be anything more than that when it comes to a woman making the decision to have an abortion. That's my opinion on it. You can go do whatever you want. And, prepare yourself, though. You're going to have mental ramifications about that process. I'm not a mom. I'll never be a mom. I fathered a child in 2002 who will be 20 at the end of June. And part of the reason for me getting a vasectomy is I never wanted to have a think. I never wanted to think to myself or have to explain to him, if the question ever came up, why I didn't choose to keep him versus these other kids, if I had more. And that was part of the reason. But yeah, I was also very terrified about just knocking up anybody I had sex with. So apparently I got the strong sperm, or had. Now I probably still do, but they can't pass go and collect their $200. So anyway, for a podcast that really doesn't take on serious subjects, I've covered gun control and abortion. And those are just my random rambling thoughts. I've been talking for about 26 minutes now.
So you've been listening to me ramble on for quite some time about this, that, and the other. So allow me to ramble on briefly about how I operate this podcast. There's lots of options for how you want to post and host your podcast and put it out into the world. I did a lot of research on mine, and for me, I decided to go with Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard of Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's free. That was a big selling point to me. Free is good. I like free. There's also tools for creation to help you record and edit your podcast from your phone or your computer or your tablet or whatever you're using. I find that to be effective. So we got free, we got recording and editing, both big deals because they are. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you. So it can be heard on Spotify, it could be heard on Apple Podcasts, it could be heard on Google Podcasts, and many, many more. That is a huge time saver because I don't have to go to each of those things to upload. So I like that distribution right then and there. And again, it's free. You can make money from your podcast if you're into that kind of thing with no minimum listenership. That could be cool. I think you should try it. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So if you've been on the fence about making a podcast and the only thing holding you back is how you want to host it or create it or whatever, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's worth it.
So I know I like to try and listen to music, and I like to try and see movies when they come out and all that good shit. I've been very, very, very disinterested in seeing a lot of new things just because stuff I have to pay attention to. I just kind of want to be numb and not have to pay attention to stuff when it's not required of me. I will say the newest movie that I actually planned on watching that's a bigger movie was The Batman. I wanted to see The Batman was in theaters, but I just didn't make the time to do it because of my travel schedule, and then it came out on HBO Max, not sponsored. So I watched it there, and I had heard a lot of pros and cons. I've heard a lot of people talk about how good it was, and I heard only a few people really talk about how bad it was and how emo Sparkle Boy, whose name I think my brain has blocked out his name, dude from Twilight, fucking name, I should look it up, how emo his portrayal of Batman / Bruce Wayne was. So I still went in with an open mind to all this process, and I think it worked out. Like, I actually quite liked it. I thought it was pretty good. He was brooding, and I think that's how he's supposed to be. Maybe a little too brooding for the Bruce Wayne part, like at least in public. Now, if he's just at home chilling with Alfred, brooding is fine. But the brooding all the way around, that seemed unnecessary to me, but it didn't hinder it, in my opinion. The reluctant hero, if you will. I actually liked it. And Paul Dano played the Riddler, and I think the first thing I ever saw Paul Dano in was The Girl Next Door. He played Klitz with a K, and he's great. And I've seen him in a couple other things, can't think of what, but he's a good actor. But he fucking crushed it. I thought he played the Riddler part so well. And I mean, if you haven't seen it, keep an open mind to just watch it. You might like it more than you expect. Paul Dano's performance, I would put pretty close to on par with Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. And if you've seen The Dark Knight, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because Heath Ledger fucking killed it. That guy had probably the performance of his life. He won a posthumous Oscar for it, and he absolutely deserved every bit of it. And Paul Dano's performance as the Riddler in the Batman, easily on par with Heath Ledger's performance of the Joker in The Dark Knight. It's hard to find, like, playing a villain, I think, probably comes easily to a lot of actors. But playing a villain so well and so dark and so believable. That seems to be the hard part. And I mean, good Lord, Paul Dano did a really, really good job. And I think if Heath Ledger was still around to see what Paul Dano did with that character, he would applaud him. And I truly believe that. Outside of that, I haven't done much. I've been to a few shows lately. There was earlier this month, the end of April, I went to 3 different shows, all within like a 2-week period, which is the first time I've done that in at least a couple of years. I saw Cradle of Filth back when they came through, and that was the first time I'd seen them, so that was cool. But the 3 shows I saw, 2 local shows, which had a national act touring from South Dakota Mall. They were pretty badass live. They were really good. I haven't checked them out, any of their recordings. I think they're about to come out with a full length, but Mall from, I think it was either South Dakota or North Dakota, they were fucking, I really, really enjoyed them live, which means I'll check them out when I fucking get around to it. But they were good. And then I went to the Tech, what the hell is it called? Tech Trek 2022 or whatever the fuck it's called, with Inferi, Archspire headlined. I'm drawing nothing but blanks. But saw them at the Oriental Theater here in Colorado, and that was a really good show. I hadn't seen any of those bands. I know Archspire's music fairly well. Inferi I know a little bit. The other bands I hadn't heard, and all of them were fucking fantastic. Archspire, I don't know how they do that shit live. I'm not sure how they do that fucking just on a CD. With technology today, it's probably easy to make that stuff happen when recording, as opposed to recording it happening. So I was always curious if they could pull it off live, and fuck, dude, they did not disappoint. And I got to see good friends. So Brian from Apathy/Stratagem, he and I hung out the whole time, so it was good. And my buddy Mondo, who I haven't seen in a while either, he took my other ticket that I bought, so that was a good time. Just gonna finish up with a thought. I don't want this episode to be stupid long, but my first episode this season was with Steve from Seed of the Sorcerer, Womb of the Witch. Great fucking guy, great fucking vocalist, who keeps teasing that his first grindcore band may or may not be doing something in the future, which is something I can relate to, because Misanthrope keeps talking about getting back together to do something, but getting us all in the same room is nearly impossible. That episode was 2 hours long, and people seem to have loved it. Like, he shared it with his people, I shared it with my normal, audience and whatever, and we both got a lot of good compliments about it, which is awesome. So I do fully intend to get more people on the show. Ryan, my guitar player, he wants to be on it at some point, so hopefully we'll make that happen soon. But lastly, before I finish this up, a little story about a gravity check. My most recent work trip, we went out to the Bay Area in California. We were in Oakland, in downtown Oakland, to do some kind of demo stuff for our customer. And there was a whole crew of us. There was me, my boss, the project manager, one of my coworkers, kind of on my team, but on one of our other products, and then our technical guy. And we were all going to lunch, and we were walking through downtown. And the thing with downtown Oakland, just like any other downtown city, at least a big one, is the sidewalks all have like all those fucking metal grates and shit for access to things below ground. And I'm a big fat ass. I fear walking on those things, so I go out of my way to avoid those if I can. And there was 5 of us, 2 in the front, one guy by himself in the middle, and then me and my project manager, who's 6'8", and he makes me feel short. And we're walking, and I was at the back with him, and we're coming up to a gate, and I was like, oh, I'm going to step to the side. I was on the left side close to the curb, and when I stepped to the side to miss the gate, I actually landed on the post base for a parking meter, where they had removed the parking meter but left the base in the concrete, and then weeds had grown around the base. So I never even saw it. I just thought it was some weeds. So I stepped on it, and all of a sudden I had my left foot that had stepped on it, and I was bringing my right foot around to, cross stepped and miss the grate entirely. And I could feel my leg start to give out below me for some reason. I look down and see my ankle is about to roll. And I'm like, well, I don't really need a broken ankle in my life. So I tried to correct that as quickly as I could. And because I was already in motion with my right leg to swing it over in front and kind of cross step, I ended up turning in such a weird fucking way that I said, oh shit, and fell backwards, landed on my ass, then rolled onto my back. My legs came up above me, whatever, like a fucking turtle that got flipped over somehow. And then I just laid there for a few seconds while the project manager freaked out, asking if I was okay. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm okay. I wasn't too hurt. I scraped up my knuckles and stuff, but might have been the most graceful fall I've had in my adult life that I can think of. And then it was the brunt of all the jokes for the remainder of the week. That was Wednesday, so we still had Thursday and Friday to deal with. But yeah, so I guess when you're moving through unfamiliar territory, as much as you should keep your head on a swivel in downtown Oakland, make sure you check out the ground at some point when you're stepping, just to watch out for those post holes, because those little post bases, or whatever the fuck they're called, for parking meters that they've removed or relocated, they just leave those there. And I'm sure the same is anywhere where they had those things, but yeah, that shit fucking sucked. So that's my semi-humorous story for you guys, seeing my fat ass crawl. And then when the PM tried to help me up, my legs gave out. Like, I couldn't physically get them to let me stand up. And it took me bracing myself against the van I ended up next to, and then him lifting me up to actually get back onto my feet. And it was weird. Then I had to walk gingerly for a little bit because I wasn't sure if I actually broke my ankle or anything, but turns out no worse for wear, just some scraped up knuckles. So just know that if you're a giant fat ass, falling can be graceful if you just do a little pirouette like from ballet and fall on your ass, even though you're walking forward. I don't even care. That's my story. So thanks for listening. I don't know if I'll have an episode next week. I might if I record it Wednesday. I'm going to Vegas I'm on vacation from Wednesday to Monday. And I'm going to Vegas on Thursday. So I might, because I don't leave until Thursday afternoon, I might get something recorded. Otherwise, probably not until Monday night will I record anything. And then I'm back to work. So I hope you guys are doing well. I really, really do. Thanks for listening to my tiresome rants about subjects I said I don't normally like to get into. I love you all. Please be safe. And apparently I'd been using the phrase that Jerry Springer used on his show. I just recently found out about it, courtesy of Whose Line Is It Anyway, where he was a guest on the show. But whatever I used to say at the end, where take care of yourselves and take care of each other, apparently that's his fucking signature tagline at the end of the Jerry Springer show. So that's cool. At least I'm trashy. That's what I've taken away from that. Anyway, I love you all. Please be safe. And just like Jerry says, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.
Thank you for listening to Death Metal Disco.